Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I am Theophilus Ilama, standing in for Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, the coup in Niger has evoked the anger of the economic community of West African states, who is placing sanctions and gearing for a war against the coup. President Tinubu has written the Nigerian Senate in this regard. And later on the show, Nnamdi Kanu insists no more sit at home in the southeast, as Simon Ekpa says it must go on. Now, in the course of the program, we'll take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your comments in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments from those whose names are clear and are about the issues discussed. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Thank you very much for joining us at this point. So let's look at the coup in Niger Republic.
For doing this with me.
So looking at
and I hope we make the most of it.
ECOWAS has threatened to, amongst other things, close all land borders leading to Niger Republic, cut off electricity supply, mobilize international support against the coup, while also preventing flight operations in and from Niger. Now, this is, of course, amongst others. With all these sanctions to be put in place, do you think we need a full-blown war to force the military into going back to the old order?
I do not support war. I don't support war at all. But when you listen to the heads of government of ECOWAS, they are saying that they are prepared to use all means possible to restore order. And when politicians or even civilians talk in this manner, it means that they do not foreclose the possibility of war. So clearly, when they speak in this manner, they do not foreclose the possibility of war. When you hear someone say they are prepared to use all means possible, of course, war is one of the possibilities, one of the options available to them. But for me, I think that what is important is for us as members of ECOWAS to continue to ramp up the pressure on the coups in Niger Republic, tighten the economic strangulation of Niger Republic that we have begun. This is a country heavily dependent on Nigeria. It is landlocked. So I believe that it is possible to get the leaders to the coupists to do what is sensible without resort to war. So I do not support war at all. Look, Nigeria expended more than $15 billion on the wars in Sierra Leone and Liberia. We behaved like the African, the big brother, and we lost thousands and thousands of our troops. Some say that we lost up to 20,000 troops, but we lost equipment and we spent, according to analysts, more than $15 billion. Yet, what did we achieve at the end of the day? In my view, nothing. Because after we restored order in those countries, the Chinese came, They are the ones enjoying the two countries. They are the ones setting up businesses and profiting heavily. So the question to ask is, what is even our interest in all of this? Because if ECOWAS were to go to war against the coups or against Niger Republic led by those coups, of Nigeria will lead the charge. Nigeria has extensive borders with Niger Republic, from Kebbi in the northwest to Yobe in the northeast. In Abadam local government and Dikwa, we have not Dikwa. I'm trying to remember this rice producing local government in Borno State. I'm sure I'll remember later. We share border with Niger Republic. Just about 6 kilometers, you're already in Niger Republic from Abadam local government, with headquarters at Malam Fatori. And our soldiers, because Malam Fatori is not inhabited by civilians, that local government is not inhabited by civilians, but inhabited by soldiers who are guiding Malam Fatori. In fact, a good number of Nigerians, T-72 Russian-made main battle tanks are located in Malam Fatori. That is the town where the great tank commander, Colonel Abu Ali, was killed by Boko Haram in a night attack. So, Boso is very close to Malam Fatori, and also even Yobe is the same thing. Gaidam, Babangida, those communities are located close to the border with Niger Republic, and our people go there to trade with them. Then in the northwest, you have states like Katsina, Kebbi, Jigawa, Sokoto, all sharing boundaries or border with Niger Republic. You know, so we have a lot to lose if we go to war with them. My suspicion is that it could even result into some form of insurgency against Nigeria, because war can be very unpredictable. You go into war believing that you can deal a decisive blow on the enemy, and the war drags on and on, as we have seen with the war between Russia and Ukraine. Putin must have thought that within 1 week he will be able to end that war. But the war began in March last year, and it's still on after more than 1 year, and no one knows when it will end. And even now, the Ukrainians have the capacity to even hit mainland Russia. They now have the capacity to hit Russia, even using ground troops. So I do not want to see war. I believe that if the sanctions are tightly applied, we will be able to achieve our aims. Already, we have stopped all forms of flights to Niger Republic, and even their goods in transit from Nigeria, we are blocking them. The borders have been blocked, and we have even cut electricity supply, although I do not really believe that that was the right decision, because we resorted to giving it. We agreed to give Benin Republic and Niger Republic electricity after we finished building the Kainji Dam, because Kainji Dam was our main source of electricity some time ago. But we resorted to giving them electricity, so to discourage them from building their own dams. because we are, if you look at the map and you look at the trajectory of River Niger, Nigeria is at the base compared to those two countries, Niger Republic and Benin. So if either of those countries decides to dam the Niger River, we will not have enough water at our end, because the water has to flow from their country, coming from Kutajalon, flow into those countries before coming down to Nigeria, which is at the bottom. So if they decided to dam, we will be in trouble. Now we have gone against that agreement by saying we will not give them electricity. So I think that that should even be considered. I believe that looking at the military assets between Nigeria and Niger, Niger does not stand a chance against Nigeria, whether in the air or on land. They do not have as much troops as we have. They do not have as much air assets as we have.
All right, so in all of this that you have said, it's quite interesting listening to the conversation with you. Of course, the comments are pouring in on YouTube already. Let me just take one or two before we go to the next question. Falashade Olarinoye says, we don't need war at the moment. We need to learn a lesson from what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. Just like what you have said, Nigeria will be at the receiving end. Our economy is strained already. Mark Oyaide says, BKO is right on this. We don't need to be dragged into another war front. Wars are expensive and we are deeply in debt. That's what Mark Oyaide says. Now, moving to the next questions now. There has been successful military coup in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and recently Niger from 2020 till date. How is this going to affect the fight against terrorism and insurgency in the region, including Nigeria? And how does this undermine the power of the ECOWAS bloc?
You see, what ECOWAS hates to see is trampling over a democracy within the sub-region. Remember when the former president of Gambia was defeated in the election, and instead of accepting defeat, he decided to sit tight. ECOWAS leaders piled the pressure, led by President Muhammadu Buhari at that time, piled the pressure and got him to agree to leave office. And he had to leave office in a jiffy. In fact, Nigeria deployed an armada of air assets, including the old but not tired Alpha jets. They sent some of them to Gambia, and they sent the right message to Yahya Jammeh, and he had to leave office. What makes African leaders, the West African leaders, sad is the fact that between 2020 and now, 6 countries have produced military leaders. And when these military leaders even promise that they are going to have a swift transition to civilian rule, it's always just meant to deflect deflect attention away from them, because they usually do not honor their word. When Idris Deby was killed, that's the president of Chad, who had been in office, who used to be the chief of army staff of his country, became president, and for more than 30 years he remained president. When eventually he was killed, his son took over, and his son promised that there will be a swift transition to civilian rule. You and I can see that That has not happened. Years after he made that promise, that has not happened. So seeing the president of Conde and president of Guinea, Conde, who is a friend of Mr. President Tinubu, pushed out of office and even paraded on the streets of Guinea, seeing the Burkinabe leader removed and replaced by a soldier, seeing the same thing happen in Mali, you know, seeing it happen in Chad, and seeing it happening now in Niger Republic, it suggests that it's getting closer and closer. And unfortunately, a lot of young people who have never tasted military rule believe that military rule is such a good thing, especially when they see young people, you know, taking power. So if care is not taken, military rule will continue to move from country to country in the West African sub-region, and the ECOWAS leaders are worried that it will even get to them. Who knows? It could be Benin Republic next time. Who knows? It could be Ghana. It could be anywhere. So all they are trying to do is discourage the emergence of military rule in these West African states. And there is no evidence that since these soldiers have been taking power in those states, whether it's Mali you are talking about or Burkina Faso, there's no evidence that they've improved a lot of the people. There's no evidence that they've even been able to bring down significantly insecurity in their countries. I've always described the Niger Republic as a failed state. I've seen it as a failed state since as far as 2014. You know, because in many parts of Niger Republic, there's no order, no people simply just do what they like. No one seems to be in charge. But there's no guarantee that military rule will restore the much needed order. And what usually happens after a few years, these guys will transmute into civilian leaders and remain in power for as long as they want. You know, so I can feel the anger of the ECOWAS leaders because they want democracy, which is still the most accepted method of government globally, to prevail in all of those places. You know, so
all right.
Something has to be done about the incremental descent to military rule in Africa.
So some comments coming in. Bison is saying we don't want war in Africa, so I concur with BKO. Fabian Akaiser says military takeover is always as a result of the failure of governance by civilian leaders. Why is ECOWAS not adopting a shared policy to eliminate corruption and bad governance in West Africa? Many more comments here, but we'll go to the next discussion. The leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has ordered Simon Ekpa to desist from issuing a sit-at-home order in the state, in the southeast region as well. But Mr. Ekpa, who says he is the Prime Minister of Biafra, described the purported letter as a joke and an insult taken too far. Well, let's get the view of the maestro on this issue. Now, Nnamdi Kanu, in a purported letter, ordered Simon Ekpa to desist from calling for any sit-at-home order henceforth. But Simon Ekpa is defiant in a video online, noting that the letter isn't from Nnamdi Kanu. What do you make of this?
Frankly, I wonder what the problem is with Simon Ekpa. We did not institute sit-at-home in the first place. The people who instituted sit-at-home have decided to call it a day with the program or with the policy. So a man sits in Finland and continues to tell Nigerians that, oh, it is sit-at-home or nothing. He even said that for him to believe Nnamdi Kanu's handwritten letter proclaiming an end to sit-at-home, that he wanted highball to highball meeting with Nnamdi Kanu. Of course, this is not possible. And I do not blame Simon Ekpa, because he sits in Finland. He doesn't he doesn't suffer the pain that our people suffer. He does not feel any pain at all, the kind of pains that our people suffer. More than 250 people have been killed while sit at home is being enforced by thugs, by brigands, by cultists, and other people who have taken over the Southeast. He's far away. He's completely oblivious of the level of pain that our people are going through. The Center for Investigative Reporting estimated that in 71 wasted Mondays when we had sit at home, that a loss of $10 billion was incurred. $10 billion. And they used tools usually available to the National Bureau of Statistics to come up with these findings. And the people suffer the most are micro and nano businesses, because they constitute more than 90% of the businesses in the Southeast. You have nano, micro, small, and medium businesses, but it is the nano and micro businesses that have suffered the most. So, whichever way we look at it, more than 5 trillion lost in 71 wasted Mondays. That is from July 30, 2021 to the end of 2022. The figure will certainly be higher if they had the wasted Mondays that we've had this year. Don't also forget, what Simon Ekpa does is he doesn't even insist that people should sit at home on Mondays alone. He will sometimes say for a whole week people should sit at home. Sometimes he will say sit at home should happen. I mean, they will even order curfew. So he has turned himself to a government within a government. And the people, leaders of thought in the Southeast, led by Eze Chukwemeka Eri, that is the traditional ruler of Eri Kingdom in Enugu Aguleri. That's the traditional ruler that gave me the title of Okulora. That's the traditional, very, very well-respected traditional ruler, Chukwemeka Eri. He, along with Senator Ifeanyi Ubah and others, went to meet Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu gave that assurance and reassured that no form of sit-at-home should happen again, because sit-at-home used to happen on Mondays. And then later on, he changed, IPOP changed his mind and said sit-at-home should happen only on days when Nnamdi Kanu is brought to court. But the courtists and other people enforcing sit-at-home ensure that whether Nnamdi Kanu is brought to court or not, people can freely walk around the streets of the Southeast. And businesses have been diverted from the Southeast to neighboring states like Akwa Ibom, Delta. The Igbo man likes to open his container on a Monday morning. These are energetic people, inventive people, hardworking people. Or you keep them in their homes on Monday morning, which should be a pivotal day for them. They like to open their containers on that Monday morning. That is the day that business really begins, at the beginning of the week. But you force them to go elsewhere. So that brand of civil disobedience is something that I had quarreled with for so long. And I'm happy that Nnamdi Kanu has said no more. But Simon Ekpa is now saying no. Clearly, people like Simon Ekpa have been benefiting from this unfortunate strand of civil disobedience, and where people benefit tremendously from something, don't even tell them that they should stop it, because they are not going to listen to it. But I'm happy that with Nnamdi Kanu coming out to say no more sit at home of any kind, whether on the days that is brought to court or Mondays, no more sit at home. We have seen that it's people that is fighting for. This thing is actually inflicting greater pain on them and even costing lives. So he has made up his mind, no more sit at home. I expect that as a result of that, sit at home would incrementally begin to fail in the Southeast. I'm looking forward to next Monday, for example, with Nnamdi Kanu reinforcing what he said earlier, that sit at home has come to an end. So I want to see the level at which our people will come out, either in Enugu, where more businesses have suffered from sit at home than any other part. There are more businesses in Enugu, more small, medium, and even nano businesses in Enugu state than other states of the Southeast. They just marginally higher than some of the states, but they have more businesses in Enugu than other parts of the Southeast, and they are suffering. So I want to see how they respond. I want to see the people come out en masse on Monday, this coming Monday, to show that yes, the era of sit at home has indeed come to an end, thanks to the person whose group IPOB came up with it, and to show that IPOB means business. Or IPOB has now said that the Mondays should now be Economic Empowerment Day. So IPOB has converted the sit at home on Mondays to Economic Empowerment Day in the Southeast. They reckon that indeed prolonged sit at home had crippled the economy of the Southeast, had made the people poorer, had made the people more poverty-ridden, and now they are saying that this is the time for people to begin to mobilize resources to empower those that need to be empowered, including the educationally disadvantaged in the Southeast, so that the Southeast can begin to breathe a fresh air of economic progress once this sit at home is done. Mr. President has said that he wants Nigeria's GDP to grow. You can see that he's concentrating a lot on agriculture. And I can say that once businesses begin to operate at full steam in the Southeast, that will help grow our economy and cause our GDP to go a notch higher, in line with the desire of the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So businesses, trade, agri, and minor services, of course, we expect tremendous response to the new directive from IPOB. Frankly, the people of the Southeast have a global reputation for hard work, resilience, and solid achievements in all spheres of life. Those are not the kind of people that you bottle them up on that day of the week when you expect a lot of productivity, a lot of business and services to boom. So this is how I feel. I'm looking forward to Monday to see the extent to which our people respond to this piece of good news from Nnamdi Kanu.
Well, indeed, it's good news for people of the Southeast. I'm sure by Monday, everybody will troop out to open their shops and, of course, open their containers to do business. Like you say, the Igbo people like to do business, and that is the soul that has kept the Southeast region. And so we hope that that will happen on Monday. So we have some comments here, several comments about the Nnamdi Kanu's directive. Daniel Oludipe says the Southeastern governors should be held responsible for allowing this. They are alleging that if they are not supporting it, it would not have stood the test of time. Another person here, Mark Oyaide, says arresting Simon Ekpa is not the solution, that he would just be replaced like Nnamdi Kanu was. That's what he says here. Other comments coming in. Fabian Akaize says, for years since the Rafuwa Zurike was tamed, the Biafra movement was silent. The federal government have sought a permanent solution decades ago. And all we have quite a lot of comments. Suleiman Obatunde says, well done, Mr. Babajide Otitoju. Abel Ghana says, my brother, well done. Thank you for keeping us updated. And of course, thank you very much for talking to us. And that's it, our show. That's our show today. On today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, on those insightful analysis. As always, I enjoyed listening to you on this program today.
Thank you, Theophilus. I'm sure we'll do this with you again after your baptism of fire on the program today.
Thank you very much, and thank you too to our audience for joining us on every edition of the show. Thank you very much for joining us at this point. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. You can click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also on social media at Phil Elama TVC. On behalf of the rest of the team, I am Theophilus Elama. Do have a great day.